Okay. Hello, everybody that's watching or spending a bit of your lunchtime or early morning with Profila. So today I'm very excited to have Nikolai Nedelchev, sorry, as a.
Okay. It's a difficult name anyway.
It is, it is. I don't think I've ever pronounced it properly in front of you, but with Nikolai, we'll just stick with that. So I'm very excited to have Nikolai as a guest today. Nikolai is actually an investor in the Zeek token, but also has a great industry experience in advertising and as an agency executive. So what I'll be doing with Nikolai today is just asking him to introduce himself, get a bit of background to himself, and then we'll walk through what is our brand proposal deck. So this is our new messaging to appeal to companies and brands to change the way that they're doing business and to consider Profila. So it won't be a pitch, and it'll be a narrative for Nikolai to give us some honest feedback as to, is there really a problem here that Profila is addressing and the approach that we're taking. And just a warning, Nikolai, it is a more aggressive deck this time. So I'm trying to raise the problem a little bit more to brands in a way that can get their attention. Because I think the market sometimes has get distracted with so many new things in AI, and privacy has just taken a back seat, it looks like. So and we've got some things going on in America and around the world that everyone seems to have forgotten that we actually are still sitting on a massive privacy dilemma when it comes to the internet. But before we dive into those details, Nikolai, if you can introduce yourself and just a bit of your background.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Very briefly, I have graduated from the Economic University in Sofia, International Relations, and my first job stint, just right after graduating, was becoming the marketing manager for Apple computer. At that time, it was not only Apple. The whole name was Apple Computer because Apple was much more into computers at that time than all these consumer electronics like mobiles and iPods, iPads, and stuff like that. That was in '92, and I spent 3 years being the marketing manager for Apple, and then I decided I had this kind of entrepreneurial itch, and I founded my own advertising company in '95, which started growing pretty quickly. And then in 2002, I became a partner of Publicis Group. Publicis Group nowadays, I think in market cap, it's number one. Among all these advertising communication holdings in the world, like WPP, Omnicom, Interpublic. And in 2009, I was Publicis acquired the majority in my company, and 2022, actually, I transferred the rest of my holdings to Publicis, and nowadays I'm a kind of investor in the startups. I'm a mentor to some of them. I'm doing my PhD in marketing,
Awesome.
marketing and AI, of course, because these days everything is AI to do marketing. So that's basically about me. I've
Awesome.
actually been able to create the biggest marketing communications entity in Bulgaria, covering all communication specialties, and that's basically.
No, that's a lot. I mean, I forgot from our conversations that you started at Apple. Was that Apple in Europe or US or Bulgaria or?
It was in Bulgaria because Apple, this '92, Apple was establishing, setting foot in different geographies, and that's how it happened. I just graduated, and they were looking for. At that time, there were not much kind of qualified talent, as you can guess. Bulgaria just a couple of 3 years ago was a communist country.
So I hope you bought and kept shares though from that era, because they would be very wealthy, well, worthwhile or not now.
Absolutely. That was my, honestly speaking, that was my university, my marketing university. Apple is a great, even though Steve Jobs was outside of the
Yeah,
company at that time, he was, at that time it was John Scully, the Pepsi guy, at the helm of the company. You could still feel the culture and the atmosphere and kind of the heritage of Steve Jobs. So I
and
had the
through
chance. Hmm?
yeah, and so through the experience of been working with Apple and going to Publicis, as you mentioned, is one of the world's largest ad agencies. What was your experience like there through the years? Because you've seen an evolution of advertising
Yeah,
and marketing. So I think just in a minute or two summary, what do you think has been the biggest changes in the industry?
big time. Big time, huge. It's when I started in the kind of 2002 with Publicis, I mean, because I started in 95, my own agency, which was growing, and Publicis spotted my growth,
Hmm.
liked my ethos, and they said, let's partner. But from 2002, let's to 2022, okay, it changed so much. And actually, the seismic shift happened when the digital and social platforms
Hmm.
kind of um, invaded our lives.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that happened. That's
And
really
since then, do you think for such big agencies as that and for brands, did that make things more complicated? Because before then, we've got this almost stereotypical style of marketing, which was a great campaign, very clever narrative, spend quite a lot of time, like 3, 6 months on creating footage and then going to market and letting that run for a year. But then social came and everything became high speed and a totally different approach, right? It must have, a lot of people must have got confused as to what their job was.
exactly. That's right. It was very, very. Although actually it happened, it didn't come all of a sudden. It happened gradually,
Hmm.
and those agencies that were smart enough to start investing into understanding the digital domain and the social platforms actually did well. And by the way, one of the main things which contributed to Publicis' growth, because Publicis was number three among these big holding
Hmm.
companies. Now I think its market cap it's number one. It's investment into digital and social media. But it was the change of the paradigm, big change.
Hmm.
I can I witnessed it, I lived it, and I was part of it.
And I think with that, as a lot of people understand, there's been pros and cons. I think as far as reach for brands, it's been amazing, obviously, because if the more people that are connected, the more potential reach is there. But with that comes a lot of the dilemmas that Profila is focusing on, which is, how much is too much reach, and when
Mm,
is it too much content, and when are you actually, as a brand, irritating your customer versus giving them value?
exactly.
And I think those are some of the big challenges that the industry is struggling with. And also, just an opinion on my side quickly before we jump into the presentation, but I see a decline in the quality almost of brand narrative because there's such a high volume of it pumping through. Some brands always get it right, but on average, the content lives for a second or something in somebody's feed, and there's not enough time to actually appreciate good brand narrative versus a lot of brands are just spewing out as much as they can to grab attention. What's your opinion on that?
Absolutely. And here, one of the main culprits in this is AI, because
Hmm.
with AI you can produce in a mass scale new content, and
Yeah.
exactly it happens what you just described. I mean, you're spewing content at the consumer, he got bewildered, he got confused, and it's I don't think this works. I mean, human psychology has not changed with the pace. I mean, if it has changed, it's only incremental since we were in prehistoric times, because we are humans, we are hardwired in certain way. And what we experiencing now with this influx of content is just beyond
It's
comprehension.
crazy, yeah.
And it's beyond comprehension, and it's very, very ineffective.
I
Very a
like
lot of
that, yeah.
stuff. You think that more is better. No, it's actually it's one of my thesis in my PhD, is that actually this thing which happens with more content actually makes people kind of averse to a lot of these formats, and companies that can be smart at smart targeting the consumer with the
Hmm.
relevant, and especially like in your case, in Profila's case, with the permission of the consumer, then things will probably be much better, instead of being bombarded with countless content.
Absolutely agree, Nikolai. And I think that's where we met in the first place. And so, for those viewers who have just joined, Nikolai is an ad industry executive who's now running his own investments, but early days in Apple in marketing, and then into Publicis, one of the largest advertising companies in the world, acquired his company, but now he's independent and doing investments and mentoring. And today, Nikolai has agreed to walk through our brand proposition, just to understand, is Profila hitting the mark with our business value proposition. So I'll start sharing the screen now, Nikolai, and then we'll walk through some of the slides quicker, because I want to, with some messaging which we're aware of, but others not. So just for viewers watching, it might be covered by my tag there, sorry, but a profile, according to Cambridge, is a short description of somebody's life, work, and character. And obviously, in a lot of platforms, a profile is your data about you in that platform. But Profila stemmed from that need for individuals to have to own that, okay? Because at the moment, you don't own any of your data that's out there on the internet. So a profiler will become a term you'll use as a noun in the future, where if people want to get to know you, you can say, well, go and check my profiler. And the only difference is it's a description of you, but one that you own. Okay, so that really does give power back to the individual. But yeah, I warned you, Nikolai, some of my messaging is trying to get a little bit more edgy with brands, but we've taken the stance that a lot of data is dirty, and companies are spending, as you mentioned, these billions now on communicating with everyone. So I think omnichannel has become an obsession, where they say, wherever my customer is, I need to be, even if that's on the toilet. And it doesn't make sense. And all of that is based on a surveillance industry and surveillance data, in the hope that a few people will buy. So is this still the problem in the market, in your opinion?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good.
You're
And then
kind of you're firing a cannon sometimes with the hope to kill a sparrow.
exactly, I love that. I love that saying. And that's why we've taken a bolder statement saying, that a lot of brands are being manipulated by the engine that they're using. Because statistically, 56% of impressions are never seen, because they're either hidden in content, hidden on a website, or accidentally scrolled past, and brands are being charged for this. But the most surprising to me is the second one, that, as the previous slide said, there's billions being spent, yet the conversion rate is extremely low. And, this is an extreme case of 0.66% per quarter on social media. I know in some outlets you get into the low single digits and low teens, but I don't think there's much conversion higher than the teens, in an industry. So that's a massive problem, because you are just throwing a lot of content out and hoping you hit a sparrow, as you said. Why has the industry become so accepting of that level of conversion, Nikolai?
Well, I have my own kind of explanation. One of the things is the so-called herding bias.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, everybody's doing it, so I have to jump on that bandwagon. I mean, but what happened some time ago is that big marketers like Procter and Gamble, who is really probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest spender, actually they realized that they were not, their spend in the marketing domain was not effective, and they diminished it drastically just because of that. But for many people, for many companies, they're just followers. They follow suit what the big boys do, like Coca-Cola, like Kraft, like Diageo, whoever. And if they do it, they should know something. That's why I have to follow suit. I think this one is, I don't understand it exactly. This is very indicative. 0.66%. My goodness,
that's crazy. And that's the latest research from Statistica, on social media. So that for me, highlights the main problem is that a whole industry is addicted to almost a vanity metric approach where they're being fed results that make them feel like they're doing the right job, but they're actually not. So the next bullets, are still astounding that in such a big industry of like 800 billion, I think, on ad spend, 170 billion is still ad fraud. But the last one touches on Profila, and this statistic is similar around the world, is that people don't trust these entities anymore as customers, yet brands are still leveraging them. So we have this two problem statements, really, which is there's a huge amount of money being spent. The conversion is extremely low. People receiving the content from that spend are not happy. They're not seeing most of it. So why is this industry still unchallenged, and not changed? And that's where Profila is really putting a new proposition to companies to say, you really are wasting your money. Like you said, just gave the example of Procter & Gamble. They realized that, wow, where is this all going? And that statement at the bottom is the common one in the industry, that if as a consumer, if you're not paying for it, you're the product, but you're still the unpaid product for your data and attention. But we've got all these fat cats in the row there that are making a huge amount of money, but it's still not effective. So just your opinion on this statement.
Absolutely. I agree with it. It's there are too many intermediaries who are making money along the way. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. And they make the process very complex.
Exactly. And this is how we believe it should be. So in an industry where surveillance has proven that it's a menace and it's a problem and it's being regulated out, the industry is holding on to it. And we believe that those surveillance mechanisms need to go. There are too many data brokers, who are hoarding all of this data en masse and trying to monetize it over and over again. And in my opinion, too, there's too many CRMs and CDPs because there's a million copies of Nikolai's data everywhere. I mean, that's not good for the planet. It's not good for costs of a business. It's not good for the privacy risk of breach for a business. So companies need to start realizing that, like Procter & Gamble, they can cut out a lot of costs. I call it in another press release we're doing, Nikolai, it's the Doge moment for the advertising industry, because we need to look at this industry and cut costs because it's infected at the moment.
And actually, your data doesn't benefit the consumer. Actually, it's taken somehow, your data, and you don't benefit. You're just the opposite. You get bombarded with all kind of marketing messages.
Exactly. So your data is everywhere. It's being abused. Brands also had this obsession of like, I have to collect big data. That was a trend for many years, but they're being fined for sitting on data that's actually old and stale. Research also shows that 70% of data sitting in these systems is non-relevant. So why hold it, and rather get smarter about how you use it? Yeah. So our proposition as Profila is to say this, that you and your customers deserve better. So we're talking two brands here. And our North Star is this statement, is that Profila is a new personal media platform that targets 100% engagement. So that's 100x improvement. by perfectly aligning your marketing intent with the individual preferences of your customers. And that comes back to that holy grail of personalized marketing, which, of course, if every brand could get right, is amazing, because then you get 100% conversion. But while delivering privacy and preserving privacy. So just from a ambition statement, Nikolai, does this sound ridiculous, or is this achievable with technology?
No, it doesn't sound ridiculous, not at all. It's worth trying it, and I'm pretty confident that this is what consumers are looking for. Consumers are looking for. I mean, this could be one of the disruptors of this whole kind of whole current state of affairs of the digital communication.
Exactly. So for us too, it's we want to be very clear with our brands and too that it's not a search environment, it's not a social environment, because we know the problems there too now is. And even when I search in Google nowadays, I get 10 promoted posts first. I normally now click to page 2 immediately, because there I'm starting to see stuff which isn't just forced into my face, which is crazy. And then with social, it's become so dirty, and I think that problem with brands on what is my brand positioning next to social media, it's uncontrollable. Okay, so social is good for certain elements, but it's got a big problem at the moment. Just in your opinion, what's gone wrong with search and social? I think you touched on it in the beginning, but is that becoming a danger zone for brands?
Oh, well, with social, first, it can be manipulated, as we already have witnessed. I mean, Cambridge Analytica, we see it through social. Some third parties can win elections, can win votes. A lot of stuff can be done through social. Everybody, for instance, if we take X, everybody has equal rights, but Elon Musk is more equal than anybody else, for instance. With social, you can change. I mean, even if you figure out, if you're smart enough to figure out how you can get ahead of your competition using social, doing something great, this can give you maximum 3 to 6 month lead, because in this time your competitors can catch up, or the owners of the social platform will change the algorithm and everything.
Correct.
And social, finally, social lives, like all media lives on negative news, because negative news sell more than the positive news. And they're tailored in such a way that you see these kind of things which will make you read more, stay more with the platform. So that's why
it's becoming a challenge for a brand, I think, how to actually extract value from it. And that's why we want to be very clear with Profila, that we're not trying to copycat and be this new platform where everyone thinks they have to be. But we're trying to create this environment where a customer can do these things on the left and a brand can do the things on the right, which is, create an evergreen profiler of themselves, of accurate data, by self-assessing and also by importing first-party data and managing a data set. So that's what we're educating people to do on Profila, is to say you need to control how you are represented digitally to the world, because currently the data brokers and the surveillance mechanisms are representing you in a funny way, and you've got zero control of that. But if you're giving a brand these accurate content preferences and contact preferences and buying signals, and you then give them mindful attention, that is the holy grail for a brand, is it not? So on the left, that's what brands want. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's totally different game. It's totally different. If you do it on your own, if you kind of willingly have provided your data, you get much more meaningful offers by the brands.
Correct. And there's a lot of companies call this they're part of their first party data strategy, but that still means that I, as a customer, have to go and spend time on their website, update information. And it's unrealistic that I'm going to do that across 100 companies or 200 companies in my life. And that's what Profiler is aiming to get right for brands, is to say, let your customer tell you what they want. And then in return, if you've got the right data on the right-hand side, you can offer them the perfect product. You can ask for access to more data. You can give them well thought out content that's relevant, that gets closer to that 100% conversion. And you can also cultivate a better relationship. And this has to be done in a private space, we believe, Nikolai. And that's what we want to focus on, is a personal private space, as if your customer walked into your store and you're talking to them. That's what we try to replicate digitally. So I think for a market positioning, and I'd like your opinion on this, we want people to spend more on their customer, but we as Profiler, a new platform, you can't compete with the platforms that are out there that have got millions of eyeballs on them. But I still call that the danger zone. So from your IDAR marketing model, for awareness, a brand still needs to go out to the big world and be careful, but say, okay, I'm here, I exist. But what we're trying to do as a platform, as soon as there's an interest from a customer, they're in some sort of pipeline or funnel and they've declared interest, bring them into a private space where they feel safer and more comfortable to create a profile and to share information with the brand. Then on Profiler, you can keep them in the platform for the whole life cycle of the relationship, knowing that their data is also secure. So just your opinions on this?
Absolutely agree. That's if I can make a comparison. Actually, this first stage is the kind of brand awareness advertising. It's the image advertising. You have to be out there so that customers see you on in the digital domain.
Yeah.
But once they see you and they kind of then all this the funnel should go privately, where you can provide more data, be more meaningful data and see, thus you can receive much more relevant offers by the advertiser, the companies. And I see it like a logical process that should happen.
Awesome. So it sounds simple, and this is what individual companies try to do. Okay, so I don't want to, as a platform, we're not trying to replace this process, but we're making this process easier for your customer to actually help you with it. So I spoke to brands, Nikolai, quite big ones too, and they get an interest lead funnel, even B2B sites, websites from media channels. They send all the data offshore. It needs to be crunched by a whole team that people are phoning back and checking interest. And all of that can be done by purely redirecting that customer to an environment where they can just tell you, okay, well, no, I landed on the site by mistake, I'm not interested, or I was searching for a gift for somebody else, so I'm a short-term customer, or hey, I'm super interested in your brand and I want to be here. Those are the things that a customer will tell you if they walked into your store. So that's what Profiler is, but we're doing it across many, many, many companies, so we can have that economies of scale, and also it makes life easier for your customer. And this obsession, my background's in the telco industry, and there's this obsession that the brands own their customers. You would always talk about our customers, they're my customer, but it's not, okay? You are a brand of the customer. And that's the psychology I think that has to change, is your customer is king. But that changed, I think, too, over the last years. So we're hoping to bring this change in. But something, Nikolai, you mentioned earlier, I do think that AI will play a role for brands in that first sentence, which Profiler doesn't do, but there are companies I know of that are working hard to optimize that awareness spend using AI so that, yes, you can reach the right eyeballs at the minimum cost. Okay, and then bring them onto a better platform where you can spend better money on creative because you know exactly who your target customer is. And I think that will be a better opportunity for brands going forward.
Here, if I can add something, is the name of the game. I mean, once they are brought to Profiler, the whole process should be easy and straightforward, because that's the key for success If you're a customer, it should be easy, straightforward, no kind of back thoughts in your head. Am I doing this right? If it's easy and straightforward, I'm sure a lot of customers will go along and do the
Thank you.
registration.
Well, I believe with the live demos that we've done, people can see how simple the interface is, and we'll be following on this week with some more live demos. But as anyone who's built a system knows,